Good evening. Developing tonight, a federal judge says Arizona's prison system has major health care problems and is ordering independent oversight in an almost unprecedented move. Thanks for joining us tonight for 12 News at 10. I'm Mark Curtis.
And I'm Karima Devine. After years of the state promising to fix the problems, the court says that it has run out of options. 12 News journalist Maria Stobbs is joining us now in studio. And Maria, this comes after 14 years of litigation.
It does. And despite more than a decade of court oversight, a federal judge says the state prison system continued to provide dangerously unconstitutional medical and mental health care. After 14 years of court orders, sanctions, and failed attempts at reform, a federal judge has decided to take prison health care out of the state's hands.
She notes in her order that this is something that's done extremely rarely, and it's only done when every other option has been exhausted.
Corinne Kendrick is with the ACLU National Prison Project, one of the groups representing inmates in this long-running lawsuit against the Arizona Department of Corrections, Rehabilitation, and Reentry.
We kept going back to court because the medical care and the mental health care were not improving.
Court monitors found widespread systemic failures, including preventable suicides, preventable deaths, dangerous delays in emergency care, and a healthcare system so short-staffed that nurses often had to provide care outside their legal scope of practice.
It frustrates me as a wife knowing that my husband is begging for care and can't get it.
Deanna Epperson says for years she's watched her husband struggle through these delays.
My husband was severely beaten by another inmate and his whole orbit was shattered. Even though he was sent out for outside care, never once did he receive a head scan.
Earlier this week, the Corrections Department pushed back against the motion for receivership, calling a takeover costly, insisting the state has made major improvements in the past 2 years, and saying, quote, a receiver is not the answer. But Kendrick says a receiver would have the authority to make changes the state simply can't under current state law.
There's a state law that, limits how much salary can be paid or the hiring process, and a receiver basically can cut through a lot of that red tape.
The state and attorneys representing prisoners now have 60 days to propose candidates who will take over prison healthcare operations.
We do hope that it makes a difference, and at least for a little bit, we are going to keep our hopes up, but we are also going to keep our eyes open and our ears.
And just within the last hour, Governor Katie Hobbs released a statement saying in part, quote, I'm deeply disappointed in this decision, which fails to recognize the immense strides the Arizona Department of Corrections, Rehabilitation, and Reentry has made over the last 3 years. When I took office, I inherited a prison system plagued by a decade of neglect and mismanagement. Understaffing and lack of adequate health care burdened our correctional facilities. We also reached out to the Corrections Department for comment on the motion being granted, but we have not yet heard back. We're live in studio. Maria Stobbs, 12 News.
All right, Maria, thank you. Well, taking a live look right now from Flagstaff, where the snow is starting to pick back up again. Another round of winter weather is hitting the high country tonight, and it's prompting a weather impact alert. Let's get over to meteorologist Chris Dunn. And Chris, how much snow is this latest storm system expected to bring to the high country?
Yeah, for Flagstaff, 4 to 6, and even more up in the mountains. So some of the roads will actually look like this, with blowing snow and strong gusty winds. Moving in this evening, it'll be heavy at times overnight, but it's actually a quick hitting storm system, and it will likely be over with by about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. So the high country, expect winter driving conditions overnight and first thing tomorrow morning. Through midnight and 2 a.m., a really high probability you're going to see those snowflakes continue to fly around Flagstaff. And then again, coming to an end, mainly dry by 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Here's where the snow is right now on the satellite and radar, really spreading across the area. We'll zoom into northwestern Arizona. Earlier this evening, we were watching it moving through Las Vegas, approaching Kingman. But now the snow is moving into Flagstaff, also places like Prescott. Looks like you're mostly snow right now. Haven't had any reports out of Prescott just yet. But for Prescott, 1 to 2 inches. Pine Top Lakeside, 1 to 2. Flagstaff, as mentioned, 4 to 6. And at the Arizona Snow Bowl, 6 to 8 inches of snow. We have a winter storm warning specifically for the Flagstaff area from about Williams to Flagstaff, right in that I-17, I-40 convergence there. That goes until 5 o'clock in the morning. And then a lesser advisory, a winter weather advisory, but still significant. That goes until 5 5 a.m. for all the purple shaded areas here, including the Mogollon Rim and areas just to the west of Flagstaff. Here's our futurecast. This is the very brand new latest run, and this has the snow in place 10 and 10:30, but quickly clearing out. A little bit of rain could sideswipe the valley. I'll have a look at some potential rainfall amounts and why we will see a big-time warm-up next week coming up in your weather impact forecast.
All right, Chris, thanks. Mesa police say 2 people have been detained after a barricade situation at an apartment complex today. This all unfolded at around 5 o'clock near Southern and Greenfield. Police were called out for a report of gunshots, but it's unclear if any shots were actually fired. Officers say no one was hurt, and police have not said if the 2 people who were detained will face any charges.
New video released today by the Phoenix Police Department shows officers shoot a suspect earlier this month near 75th Avenue and Thomas. It happened on February 5th when officers were looking for Valerie Corona, who was wanted for questioning in a recent homicide. Body camera video shows her raise a handgun and at that point point it towards officers. That's when officers fired their weapons. Corona survived and was booked into jail on 2 felony assault charges. County Attorney Rachel Mitchell recently expressed concern over how low Corona's bond was set. We have more on that controversy posted by going to 12news.com.
It's been nearly 3 weeks now since 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie was kidnapped from her home in Tucson. Tonight, the investigation remains in a holding pattern. No suspects have been identified, and investigators are still waiting on more DNA analysis. 12 News journalist Gabriella Becerra has the latest on the search from Tucson.
Most of this investigation is now happening behind the scenes. We know hundreds of detectives and FBI agents are working around the clock to bring Nancy home. Hope for 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie's safe return is strengthening as a tribute of yellow flowers and ribbons continues to grow in her Catalina Foothills neighborhood. It's been almost 3 weeks since Nancy was kidnapped from her home in the middle of the night on February 1st. There have been no signs of Nancy, which leaves retired Phoenix Police Commander Jeffrey Hines with a grim outlook.
Unfortunately, with Nancy, the further out we go, the implications are there that it's a body recovery operation now.
But Hines is hopeful about DNA evidence in the case.
It gives me some hope that we're going to identify a suspect and have the ability to follow up on that investigatively.
The Pima County Sheriff says DNA evidence found inside of Nancy's home could belong to a suspect. That evidence is still being analyzed. Other DNA found on a glove about 2 miles from Nancy's home hasn't come back with any matches, but investigators are exploring genetic genealogy to connect it to possible family members.
It could be immediate and it could be weeks, depending on how far down into that data material they go.
We're also learning from NBC News that there is no evidence that Nancy is in Mexico, although investigators have been in touch with officials on both sides of the border since the very beginning of the case. Hines says it's natural for investigators to look in that direction.
They could, and they will, keep expanding those search parameters out and going to highway cameras, to cameras at service stations, truck stops.
As hope grows, so does the number of tips the sheriff and FBI receive every day.
They're not going to give up until they find out who did this and was part of this, and I'm here to assure you they will. I just wish it was sooner than later, but they will.
And Sheriff Chris Nano says this case won't go cold so long as they still have leads to follow. They're encouraging people to continue calling in any information they think will help investigators solve this case. There are 2 rewards being offered, and together they total over $200,000. In Tucson, Gabriella Becerra, 12 News.
Gabby, thanks. It's hard to believe it's been almost 3 weeks. Tomorrow, flags across the state will be flown at half-staff in honor of the 2 DPS troopers who were killed in a helicopter crash in Flagstaff. Paramedic Hunter Bennett and pilot Robert Skanke died when their chopper went down while they were responding to an active shooter call. A memorial service for Skanke is scheduled for tomorrow. Bennett's service will be on Monday.
New tonight, the iconic Salt River wild horse population is set to be reduced by more than half. It's part of a new contract between the state of Arizona and the management group that cares for the horses. 12 News journalist Chase Golightly spoke with the founder earlier today about this drastic change and tells us what comes next for them. Chase?
Crebe, the management group, has fought for years to keep the nearly 300 horses roaming free along the Salt River. Now they are working on a plan to safely relocate them.
It's phenomenal.
They draw in crowds from all over the country.
I don't know any other place like this.
Hundreds of wild horses along the Salt River.
I feel really lucky I got to see them this close.
And they can get pretty close.
We got a couple right behind us right now.
One home? No, I can't take one home. No.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool if you could.
Excited to see them for the first time, while locals like Miley Alday come here to be at peace.
And the way they live and how they thrive to survive is just... it's an honor to be around them.
But now those who gather to take photos or tube down the Salt River will be seeing fewer horses. The State Department of Agriculture awarded a new contract requiring the horse population be reduced from 274 wild horses to 120 within the next 5 years, following directives from the U.S. Forest Service.
A shame to see less.
It's going to be very heartbreaking for all of us that love the horses, fell in love with them, because they're part of history.
That contract given to the Salt River Wild Horse Management Group that has been tending to these horses for years.
We're happy and very sad at the same time. It's going to be a very tough thing for us to do after fighting for all these years to keep them here.
The founder, Simona Netherlands, says her group has already reduced the population from 450 through birth control methods. Now, the plan is to relocate about 25 horses a year safely and humanely until 2030.
Depending on how many horses die, how many horses are born, we have to get to that number, and that is what we committed to.
Saying they purchased land for them for the first year, but after that,
we're actually looking for land that we can still manage them on, like a lease of some sort, so that the public can still come see them.
Knowing people want these horses close by, where they can still have a sense of freedom.
We do want to assure people that we're going to do this in the utmost humane manner possible, and we guarantee that none of these horses will ever end up in a bad place.
Netherlands told me they plan on starting the relocation process in September, meaning this summer will be the last time people going down the Salt River or to visit will be able to see all of them. We're live in the studio. Chase Golightly, 12 News.
They're so pretty. All right, Chase, thank you.